Hey guys, this is Camry15. I am back at it with another video for you guys, and we are back with some more Falcon in the Winter Soldier episode reviews. As we just now finished episode 2 of Captain Falcon America and Falcon America. I really am speaking crazy. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this episode essentially goes more into detail about, well, John Walker's Captain America or his alliteration, his version, and stuff like that. And that's what we start the episode off. We see him reminiscing about, his time at his old high school and stuff like that. We see one of his buddies who we later found on the episode, which is going to end up being Battlestar, Lemar Hoskins, and stuff like that. So, we see him go out to the field in his Captain America gear, on Good Morning America, and essentially, he's just answering the questions that the host is saying, and essentially he's trying to say, listen, I'm trying to do the best I can. Listen, I'm not trying to say like I'm gonna be up to the standards of Steve Rogers, but hey, I'm gonna do the best I can in the best of my abilities. And in this episode, they really try to make you sympathize with him and make him understand like, oh, he seems like he's just a dude who's just been given the role and he wants to just do the best within his abilities. I can understand that. I understand. Yeah. Until we get to the end of the episode where we could see some ulterior motives and stuff like that. Now, in the meantime, watching the Good Morning America interview, we see Bucky Barnes looking at this. Obviously, he's kind of disgusted, just like as the entire fan base is disgusted about Mr. John Walker. And that's when Falcon's called to do the mission to find some of the Flag Smashers. Bucky's there to meet him, and essentially they're having a whole talk about like, why'd you give up the shield and stuff like that. And essentially you have Sam like, I didn't think they would do that. And essentially Bucky's like, well, you should have figured for that. And that's when, they kind of go on the mission. I did like the whole mention of the whole three things. It's like it was like wizards, something. The three categories of tier villains we have in the MCU. It's funny. They made a Gandalf reference. They made a Doctor Strange reference, and stuff like that. So that was freaking hilarious. And two, we really do see the buddy cop element in this episode, and I do like the relationship between Sam and Bucky. Like, it's really good. So, like, Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie have really good on-screen chemistry, like they really do. So I liked what I seen. Like, I like the whole plane scene where they're just staring at each other, like looking at each other with like dead looks. And I like the whole thing where essentially Sam's kind of coming off like a Captain America type of way, because we always know when everybody would ask Steve, like, what's the plan? He would essentially like kind of not say anything. He's like, well, we'll just go run with what we're doing. And that's what it kind of did. I like the fact that, too, when Bucky's jumping onto the plane, he just uses his arm to land because he's got a vibranium arm. He can take that, and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was pretty hilarious. Now, that's when it cuts into the action scene of the episode where they eventually find the Flag Smashers. They fight them on the train. You see one of the, I guess, the main villains, one of the villains, the girl, Cara, but we find out her name is, what is it, as I pull up, Carly Morgan, though. I don't know how you pronounce the last name, but her first name's Carly. That's when she starts to fight with Bucky and stuff like that. That's when you have just essentially the fights between the Flag Smasher super soldiers and Falcon and obviously the Winter Soldier. One thing I did like is earlier, before that entire scene, they did reference Bucky's time in Wakanda in the aspect of when they called him White Wolf, which I think Falcon took a jab at him about that. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see that Bucky's acknowledging the fact that he was from Wakanda, that he's, had the name from Wakanda and he liked being there. So the good question is, I wonder if he's going to just be called the Winter Soldier still, or he'll probably, obviously it's, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not Falcon and the White Wolf, but who knows? They could give him that nickname. They could, but we'll see. But other than that, what happens during the fight scene, Bucky and Falcon are having a tough time dealing with obviously, the Flag Smashers because, like I said, they're super soldiers. Like they have enhanced strength and everything. Lo and behold, that's when you have Lemar Hoskins and John Walker show up to, I guess help or give some sort of effort and help. One thing you can see is that John Walker is pretty skilled with using the shield and throwing it around. You even saw in the Good Morning America, how he looked throwing the shield. But again, it's like the shield can make you better. And again, these are regular people. John Walker and Hoskins, Lemar Hoskins, are just regular people. And, eventually comes to the point where they get owned. Bucky and Sam, they can roll off because, they roll off. And then eventually gets to the point where obviously Hoskins and Walker both lose as well, and these Flag Smashers get away. So you get this scene where they're trying to obviously, Hoskins and Walker are trying to be like, hey, look, we know what you guys did in the past, but listen, no lie, you guys got your ass kicked. And I'm like, but you guys didn't do anything better. So what are you talking about? I'm like, you do know who you're talking to. You're talking to two members of the Avengers, really one technically, because Bucky's not really an official member of the Avengers, but still, you're talking to two people that fought against Thanos that saved the entire universe. And you're talking down to them like they're scrubs. And I'm like, dog, you're just not going to disrespect my boys like that. Nuh-uh, no. So that's when you have a talk between all these guys and stuff like that. And obviously you just have Bucky and Sam trying not to hear out these guys. Again, trying to have the sympathetic role for John Walker and obviously Lemar Hoskins and saying like, oh, freaking Sam and Bucky are not being professional. Now, Bucky eventually leaves after hearing the fact that Lemar Hoskins is called Battlestar. And now after Bucky hears that, he's like, you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I'm done. Goodbye. Plus, he doesn't feel like, what's his face? John Walker is, the guy who should have the shield and everything. Eventually comes to a point where, John Walker makes a reference saying like, it would be nice if you were like, my wingman. And I'm like, yeah, no. So that's when you have freaking Sam walk off and everything. Eventually what happens is they go to Baltimore, Maryland to meet up with a guy named Isaiah. And we actually find out some lore, and we find out that Isaiah is a super soldier. At one point, he was a Captain America, which is from the comics, from when I saw other people's reviews. At some point, he was a Captain America. He was injected with the super soldier serum, and he fought Bucky. And apparently, as he said in the episode, he ripped off his freaking arm. And I'm like, good God. To the actor that plays him, I don't know the actor's name, but if you watch the CW show Supergirl, you should know the actor that plays Isaiah, because he was actually on the CW show as Supergirl as the father of John Jones, Martian Manhunter. But I thought that was pretty cool when I saw him. But you could see that, he was very angry, man. He didn't want to have nothing to do with Bucky. And we found out some more information that, after the one time of being Captain America, essentially he was arrested, and he was essentially tested on and stuff like that. And it really pissed him off. Like, he was like arrested for like 30 years being tested on. And I'm like, Jesus, what the hell did they do to this guy? And stuff like that. Which shows the dark side of the government. So yeah, and the reason why they were trying to get some information out of him to see like where are they making any super soldiers and stuff like that. Eventually they walk out of there. Two, they put a reference to, I believe, his grandson, who, from, like I said, when I watch other people's reviews before making this video, his son eventually, I guess, takes up the mantle of Patriot, essentially, which is another black, I guess you can say, Captain America type of person in that family line of the Captain America whole tree thing there. So could be a setup for it could potentially be a setup for Young Avengers. We'll just see where that storyline goes. We'll see. But anyways, we get a pretty realistic scene when the cops just show up out of nowhere on Bucky and Sam. Essentially, you have the cops obviously interrogating Sam, saying, let me see your ID, yada yada yada. You're giving some real life elements to what really happens on in this real world. Again, that scene could be a turnoff to people because people can be like, oh, good God, you guys are being way too damn political, yada yada yada. But again, like I said, more shows, more media is trying to bring this into the fold, showing that there is a racial injustice amongst when it comes to policemen treating black individuals compared to, say, a white individual and stuff like that. And, they were very hostile towards Sam, unlike Bucky. And it freaking had to the point where Bucky's like, look, do you know who this guy is, man? And essentially, that's when you have one of the other cops like, yo, this guy's freaking Falcon. And he's like, oh, you're the Falcon. What is it? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you without your goggles. And I'm like, really? I'm like, do these characters have to wear these fucking costumes to make it known that, oh, they're the freaking superheroes and you don't need to be around them? I'm like, really? Really? Goggle? I'm like, it's just like last week with the whole dude, with the lone guy who was taking pictures with Sam, but he can't help him out get a damn loan. And I'm like, geez. But again, like I said, real life element. So I will applaud Marvel for doing that. And again, if you're gonna be like one of those people that wants to ignore it, listen, I'm just gonna say this. It's one of those real life elements. And if you're trying not to say, oh, that's not happening, well then, my kind sir, you might need to get yourself double checked. But yeah. So what happens next is eventually they arrest Bucky because he missed essentially his court meeting and stuff like that. Eventually what happens, we find out he gets bailed out by John Walker. They have a nice little meeting, what we see in the trailer from his little psychiatrist. Pretty funny scene. Like I did like the part of the scene where they freaking got close to each other, essentially on their legs, and they make comment like, oh, you're very close on me, huh? And you're like, well, you wanted to be this close. And essentially we find out the reasoning why Sam really is kind of upset not Sam. We find out the reason why Bucky's kind of upset at Sam and everything. And we see that, what is it? Essentially, Bucky's like, look, Cap gave you the shield, which in turn made him believe in you, which also made me believe in you. And because you just gave the shield just like that, it makes it feel like, it makes it feel like Cap made the wrong decision and he won't trust you. And the fact that it makes me look like I'm not trusted by him either and stuff like that, which is very understandably. And it's like, damn, Bucky really does like Sam. He knows Steve gave Sam the shield for a reason and he's got Sam's back. But, and this would be the thing of the season, Sam having the trust in himself, within himself, to know, like, no, I need to take the mantle and be the new Captain America. Cap gave me the shield for a reason. Steve gave me the shield for a reason and stuff like that. Eventually what happens is after that, they have a run-in with John Walker and Lemar Hoskins. And essentially that conversation goes south. We do find out too that the government actually freaking were tracking Falcon. That's how, Walker and his buddy freaking found them on the truck scene and everything, which, okay, yeah, we're just gonna hack into your freaking tech. Okay, great. Or track you. But anyways, what happens is at the end, essentially, Sam's like, look, we do our own things because we're free agents and technically we're inventors. So we can do whatever we want, whether we want, and we have, the official word to do whatever we want. And essentially that's when you have John Walker make a threat saying like, well, okay then. You just better stay out of my way. And I'm like, yeah, really? Now, what I'm guessing is going to happen is they're probably going to show another scene where they find the Flag Smashers, probably gets their asses kicked again. And since this whole super soldier serum is a big thing, I envision what's going to happen is they're going to him and Hoskins are probably going to take both the super soldier serum. They might end up being the final antagonist, the final guys, Bucky and Falcon will have to fight, and that's when you have Falcon take the shield back and stuff like that. So yeah, because early in the episode they make a mention about taking the shield back, but Falcon's like, look, we were on the run for years, and I'm not going to try to be back on the run, try to take some simple shield that I handed into them and stuff like that. And I feel like when they take the super soldier serum and they probably get their first W, it's going to be up in their head like, oh, I'm all this and that and stuff like that. And obviously we're going to have our characters peg them down a bit, saying, no, we're the Avengers. You don't know what it's like to have be an Avenger and take the mantle of Captain America, essentially, and have the shield. The last bit of the episode, dealing with the Flag Smashers. Eventually, after hiding in their location, Carly gets a message from an unknown individual saying, you stole something from me and I'm going to kill you for it. So that could be maybe them taking the super soldier serum and they just injected it. And then I guess this mysterious person is going to be after them. So that's going to be a plot line thread. And then at the end, one of their people sacrificed their lives to let the rest of them get away. And then really at the ending for the whole episode, essentially you have Bucky and Sam essentially saying, well, we need to find out if there's maybe super soldier serums going around on like the black market or something where people are getting these enhanced abilities. And that's when they go talk to, Zemo, the villain who set up everything in the events, who essentially changed the entire dynamic for the MCU from that point in Civil War. Going forward for the rest of the story of the MCU, that's who the people, Falcon or Sam and Bucky are going to meet next. And it's going to be very interesting because we see that he's going to be something in the series. So it's going to be interesting if he gets out of prison, because we see him wearing his, iconic purple mask in this show. So going to be very interesting to see what Zemo has to say about all this. I thought it was a pretty good episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm really liking this series. I really am. Really cool. They really are building up the hate for the character of John Walker. They really are. I'm not going to lie. Otherwise than that, I'm going to get out of here, and hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. So if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on this episode, as well as hit that subscribe button if you want to get more of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as any other MCU movies or TV shows, reviews going on in the far future. So other than that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.